It's the Dr. Christmas Show, solving all of your holiday conundrums, one celebration at a time.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Christmas Show. I have a super fun guest for you today, and it's very timely because as we get into the season, I know some of you out there are bah humbugging it again, and you're worried about the holiday season, and I think this section's really going to help you out. So I have my friend Barbara with me, who is, let me tell you, very helpful when it comes to budgeting. How are you?
I am great, Yvonne. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited that you're here to talk to us today about this sticky little topic.
It is a sticky topic, and yet, if you let it get away from you on the holidays, it can be really a bear. Your finances it's really fun to spend the money. It's really terrible to have to pay the bill. So having a little bit of framework around that makes the holidays so much more enjoyable during them and after them.
You're right. So many people get into trouble with that. And we're talking about the almighty dollar. We're talking about money, which is one of those things around the holidays that people just get really nervous about and frustrated. Or they go overboard. They say, forget it. I've heard this, right? I'm going to have the best Christmas ever. I deserve it. Give me that open credit card that I have or this, and I'm going for it, right? I'll worry about it later. Not such a good idea, right?
No. And I think that some of the credit card companies have done us all a disservice. They show you these ads and it seems like people have these perfect lives and it says, you can have it all.
Yeah.
Well, I'm here to tell you.
I want the car in the driveway that has the big bow on it. That's the...
It is. Right? It's like the dream Christmas. But Christmas has to be this enjoyable experience with your family, and it's not about the gifts. It's about the thoughtfulness. It's about buying something that is memorable. Or the most gifts, the gifts that you've received that have been the most meaningful to you, have they been the biggest gift?
It's so funny. I talk about that in my book. I talk about the memories that we cherish. So when I ask somebody about their favorite Christmas, rarely do they talk about the gift. Rarely. It's always about where they spent it, who they were with, the excitement waiting for Santa the night before. Did he eat the cookies?
What it reminds you of when you look at the gift. Any gift. What does it remind me of?
Right.
As opposed to the thing itself.
That is such a good point. So I guess there's a lot of things that we can do rather than whine about it come January when we get that lovely bill in the mail or online when we're checking our balances and going, oh my gosh, what did I do? What are some of the most practical tips that you can suggest and offer to us who just don't want to wake up with that horrible yuck or buyer's remorse, if you will?
Well, when you think about going on, it's any expenditure, you want to think in terms of setting a limit or a budget of how much you're going to spend. It isn't just a blank check. If it is, it's fun while you're in the store, but it doesn't really usually work out. It's like going on a trip. It is much more enjoyable if you have how much you're going to spend on the trip. You saved for it and you spend that amount and don't come back and say, oh my goodness, what is it I have done on that trip?
Well, that's a good analogy.
Well, I think Christmas is the same way. It's just decide how much can I reasonably afford to spend on this holiday? And then make the gifts fit into that budget as opposed to I'll just buy everything and figure it out. Because that's what you see. I mean, I'll see people, I work in finance and I counsel people all the time on their budget. And they'll spend all of their money that they saved for the year in December. And then they spend January through November paying off the credit cards. And it just kills me to see that. It's an endless loop. Thinking that's what's going to make you happy.
And no wonder some people get so frustrated with Christmas and it leaves a bad taste in their mouth. Or, one of the impetus of me writing this book was I hated hearing that from people saying, oh, it's Christmas time again. And it's like, what are you talking about? It's supposed to be the most joyful time of the year. And when I think the good in all of us shows up even more so. And then you have someone who's really bummed out about it, doesn't want to deal with it because they do just that, right? Mm-hmm. They overspend. They're going to stress about it all year long. And who would look forward to another round of that?
Yeah, you're so right. And I think that the other piece of it is talk to your family. I mean, I think everybody's in the position
communication again.
And it's like, what are we going to spend on each other? Mm-hmm. Because you don't want to be the jerk who spent a very little amount and somebody else brings this incredibly generous gift and you really feel bad. So all of you kind of understanding first of all, are we getting gifts for everybody? Are we going to do a gift exchange, which I think is way better and just a much more pleasant experience too.
Right. I mean, I talk about in the book about, some tips for you is pulling names around Thanksgiving so everybody can focus on, that one person. And it's really fun because especially if it's a secret and they don't know who has who. And you can really focus on what that one person might enjoy. Or the theme Christmases, where I talk about everybody gets something and it has to be purchased at the community thrift store, right? And then there's a set dollar amount. That's a blast because once you get into that store and you're really thinking about that person or the family, the items jump out at you, but it's no panic because you're at the thrift store doing a good thing.
If you look at, like, if you said there's one store, if I bought everything at Target, like I could probably find something for every person I've ever met in my life.
Yep.
I could certainly find things that I like at Target.
Yes.
Right. And say, okay, at least my price point isn't going to be off the charts. And I just think that it makes it so much more enjoyable.
Or, of course, the handmade stuff, the stuff that comes from the heart.
That's for those crafty types. I'm not a crafty type.
And that's okay because you can buy handmade goods, right? You can go to a craft fair. You can, and I bet you there's something that you do that you don't even know about. Like these words of wisdom. I mean, we can step back a little bit. And why don't you tell everybody what it is that you do? And how is it that you're so brilliant at finances, which you are?
I wasn't for a long time. I mean, I really wasn't. I have done many different kinds of jobs in my career, and I ended up realizing my great strength and ability is in finance and in helping people project their own finances, helping them create strategies around what they want in their life. It's kind of the same idea as this Christmas idea. What do you want in your life? What are the available financial tools? Which ones do you have in place now? And which ones are lacking? And just kind of filling in this whole picture, but helping them articulate a plan 5, 10, 15 years out, and then say, are we doing everything now to get there? So I became a CFP, which is a certified financial planner. So I really could help people of all ranges, from modest backgrounds and modest income to all the way to the highest net worth families. And it's very, very satisfying. A lot of what I do is teaching.
I think the big miss about it is like, well, I don't have a lot, so I don't need someone to plan my finances. I've got nothing to plan. And that couldn't be further from the truth, right? It doesn't matter what you're bringing in or what you're doing. Everybody needs to have a plan. I talk about that in Christmas too. So it's the same with budgets.
Same.
You have to have a plan, right? And it doesn't matter how much you make.
The first thing you need to do is have a budget. Like, be honest with yourself and say, how much do I spend every month? Right? And then compare that to how much you're bringing in the door. And if there's more being spent than is coming in the door, you have to fix that.
That's pretty simple math, isn't it?
Pretty simple. We learned that when we were pretty early. But people end up spending more than they actually can afford to by using credit.
So how do you feel about credit? I mean, obviously there's people with good credit and people with not so good credit. So it seems to be a benefit sometimes for people who need it or use it wisely. But what do you think about credit and going into Christmas time?
Credit is a great tool. I charge everything in my life every single month. But I decided I'm not going to give the credit card company any more than the annual fee.
Okay.
So I don't pay any interest. But if I think I'm having a month where I don't have a lot of money, I just don't buy it and say, I'm going to wait until next month to buy that thing.
So you pay your credit card off monthly.
100%. And this is a habit you want to develop when you first get a credit card, usually, which is right around college age. And that's when the problems happen.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, well, they'll let me charge it.
Remember that? Your first credit card when you get into college and you're on your own, or when you leave the house and somewhere you apply and some, dumb credit card company saying, yeah, I'm going to take a gamble on this person. And yeah, it gives you a lot of freedom, but I think we've all been there. I know I was. Yes. I was there. So
most everybody
pretty
has been
common,
there,
huh?
Right? And I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't use a credit card for an emergency. Right? So if something comes up you're not expecting, you don't have the money to pay for it, using your credit card is perfectly reasonable. But that means you have to pull back on your other spending as, the months go by, right? You have to really see that this is a tool. I just don't want them to get your money unnecessarily. I just really feel extremely strong about that. Now, if people have a large amount of credit card debt, this is sort of old wisdom, but pay off the small ones first, have some success. Roll them into zero-rate cards if you possibly can, if your credit score will allow you to, and just make it a priority to bang out your credit cards. Put everything else as second priority. Vacations are second priority. Eating out is a second priority. Paying off your credit cards. Get that monkey off your back.
Wow, that's really, really good advice. And I know a lot of people struggle with that. Once they're already in debt or having trouble, they think it's impossible to get out. And it may be tough, but it's not impossible. It takes time, it takes determination, right? It takes focus, all of those things that we didn't have when we got into the mess in the first place.
I know. We just kind of spent it, and it accrues over time. But just, I mean, it's funny. The things you focus on are the things that happen in your life. So you decide, I'm not gonna put this credit card, putting it away. I'm not gonna use it anymore, and now I'm just gonna pay it off. And everything else I buy, I'll pay in cash.
It's such
and
a
just
such a
do it
good
until
feeling.
it's done.
Right.
And I don't really care how long it takes.
And it snowballs. It just gets easier and easier. The same way it grew, you can, it starts becoming a little game where, right?
It
You
does.
keep, wow, I can get rid of this credit card. I can lower this
Yay.
balance.
Yeah.
I'm no longer in double digits or, whatever tricks your brain into enjoying this thing. It's the same with saving, right? So it can be the same with Christmas. It doesn't have to be the same thing that we do every year. I mean, I know parents, whether it's they want to shower their children with love or it's guilt or who knows where it comes from. But sometimes the excess that you want to give children cannot be, I don't know, it just can't be good for them.
Have you ever gone to a kid's birthday party and you see every little kid coming to the party brings a gift, and the child whose birthday it is kind of overwhelmed. They open the
Right.
first present, and that's the exciting one, and everything else is like next. They become it's saturation. Christmas is the same way, right? So if you could say, we're going to get you one or two important gifts, and we all chipped in for this one thing you wanted, by far more meaningful and important for the family than I got him 20 small gifts, none of which he really liked or appreciated, right? Another thing I was thinking about, I spoke to a client the other day, and she'd set up 529 plans for her grandchildren. And her idea was that at times like holidays, especially when children are particularly young, is to say, let's fund their college. You were going to give them $20 or $50 or $100. Put it into their 529 plan. Let the money grow over time. And maybe next year you'll get them a gift.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. For those of us who don't know what that code was, I mean, I think I know, but can you explain a little bit more what a 529 is?
Yes,
It's code for.
Okay, so if you have children and you want to pay for their college, what you can do is take money, your earnings. This is money after you've paid all your taxes. You have money left. You open an account for them that's called a 529. The money is invested. The parent owns the account, or the grandparent owns the account. It's invested for the benefit of the child, and any growth on the money that happens over time is not taxed.
Yay!
As
You
long
hear that?
as
Not taxed.
As long as you use it for college expenses, tuition, books, that kind of thing.
So when they're ready to enter school, when they're ready to go, does it work for trade school too? Does
It can work for trade
Great.
schools, in some
It's not just
international
college.
schools, but it's specifically for college.
That's amazing.
So, and it doesn't, people can contribute to this. Family members, many different people can contribute. It doesn't have to just be the person who opened the account. So there can be one 529 plan for a child, and all the adults in their life contribute to that plan.
Now here's the big hiccup. Let's say the child decides not to go to college. What happens with those funds?
With those funds, you can always change the beneficiary of the account.
Look at that.
Right?
Okay.
For a niece or a nephew, you can even use the funds yourself, actually.
Hey.
If you wanted to get, but you have to use the money by a certain age. So let's say worst case scenario, you're going to take out all the money that you put in, the original deposit amount, and then you're going to take out the gain on the money, how much has grown, but you're going to have to pay a 10% penalty if it's not used for college.
Got it. Wow. If I could just crawl into your brain and learn all of this, wow. You studied a long time, Barbara, for this. And I know I always feel comfortable when I'm talking finances with Barbara because she knows what's going on. But you were also saying it's not difficult to at least find someone, it's important to have somebody, a plan, somebody taking care of your money rather than ignoring it.
Well, a financial plan is not a 50-page document you have to work on.
That's the scary. Yeah.
It seems like this complicated thing.
That's the same thing for Christmas. When I tell people you got to have a plan, they're like, oh, well, no. And I say, no, I'm not talking, spreadsheets and diagrams. You just a little bit of a game plan in your mind, talking to the family. Like you said, communicate. It sounds like it's the same with finances.
It is. You just want to, but again, if I'm making more than I'm spending, that's the first thing. Am I saving a piece of that for the future? Absolutely must happen. If you think about young families now, You need to save about 20% of your gross income because we don't know what's going to happen with Social Security, right? We don't know if it's going to be there for people. So young people are faced with, they really must save a tremendous portion. And starting earlier is the key. Your first job, put it into an IRA. If there's a company plan, participate in the company 401k. If there's a match, it's a complete no-brainer, right? Somebody's giving you free money.
Take it.
You put in 3%, they'll put in 3%.
Right.
There's no reason in the world not to do it. And as long as you're a long way away from retirement, be aggressive. Do not be afraid of the market.
How many times do we hear that? You know, in the words of wisdom from our elders, I heard it growing up, you know, start young, start young,
Yep,
start young.
just a
We
little
hear it
bit.
all the time, and we talk about compound interest. And
But I'd rather buy a new phone.
of course. Do you know how much that new iPhone 10 is?
know.
It's crazy. And I know there's lots of technology and lots of fun things that we'd rather have. But I know as we get older and we start looking into, you know, heaven forbid, that retirement and it's empty, not a comforting feeling.
No,
You know,
and
because you don't
run
know.
out of time is the problem.
Ugh.
So time is your friend in saving for your retirement. Start early, put a little bit away, every single paycheck, a piece of it. I don't care how much it is. Start early and invest, have an aggressive investment stance in those dollars. Don't be afraid. You're not going to touch the money for 40 years. The market's going to go up. It's going to go down during those 40 years. But overall, on average, it goes up. So aggressive when you're young, get more conservative as you get older.
And so just in it tears off.
Yep.
So you have a little bit of a nest egg so that when the holidays roll around and you are retired or you are a grandparent or you want to give friends and family or loved ones something, you know, special or nice, you have that ability to do so. Even if it's a small gesture, it's so important, I think,
Right.
to remember that Christmas is not about the cash flow, right? Or the gift giving. And I think everybody knows that. We just need to practice what we say a little bit
know.
more.
It's hard when you're in the store. I mean, I go to the shopping mall right around Christmas, and I see people just with bag after bag after bag.
Yeah.
And I always think, oh, God, how are they going to pay for that? I'm completely the Grinch, right? I'm like not really that fun about Christmas. But just buy meaningful gifts. They don't have to be expensive gifts.
Well, I always think of the little who's in Whoville. Come on, at the end of the day, when the Grinch took everything and, you know, all the shiny everything, and they're still singing because it's Christmas morning. Like that it may sound cheesy, but it does warm my heart because Christmas comes no matter what. So whether we buy expensive gifts, whether we have a lot of things under the tree, none of that really matters. It really does matter about family and being together and having hope and spending time together. Like that's the cherished part about Christmas. And is it fun to give? Absolutely. But I think there's a lot of inventive ways to give without having to, you know, wake up in January or the next morning and be just completely freaked out about how much you spent because nothing feels worse. And that's why I love what you're saying. It's just really being aware.
You know, I knew a very, very wealthy woman who had her, I believe it was her 50th birthday party.
Mm-hmm.
And she said to her, she was well off. Most of her friends were pretty well off. And she said, I don't want any gifts other than I want each one of you to sing me your favorite song for my birthday.
That's scary. I'd have to spend money to take lessons.
But it was really so sweet that, you know, this is
Yeah.
what would be most meaningful. And you think about having your child, you know, sing a song to you or draw you a picture, or it's something you cherish forever versus some object that they bought or had to go save their money for. You're thinking, oh, sweetheart.
Well, and then there's the message, too, that you're sharing with your children, right? We all like, I think, to give and to receive when it's meaningful. When children see, even if they get a gift that they know their parents either worked hard for or that they gave something to their parents that they made or spent a lot of time with, rather than just, you know, going to the store, spending a lot of money and giving us something because it's Christmas, that reflects on the character as you get older and children realize the importance of charity and giving.
Right. It's a big part of Christmas.
Right? So, you know, if you have money at least to save where you can give someone a little bit or share the things that you have, that really is the spirit of Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't think of a better time of year to reflect on finances and to think that Christmas doesn't have to cost a lot of money.
I think another thing people do is they feel they have to get a gift for everyone they know.
Yes.
And
I
I think, oh boy, you know, are you expecting a gift from everyone you know? Is that really necessary? I'd rather someone came in, you know, said, Merry Christmas and it was genuine and said how much they value my friendship versus getting me a gift.
That's so funny that you said that. It's so true because one of the things that I always talk about, and I mention this in my book, is if you don't know what to get this person, if you're really struggling and you're sitting there scratching your head, I will say, then why a gift? Who is this person? What's the relation? Because most of the people that you want to give a gift to, you know pretty well. You know their likes, their tastes, their dislikes, and there are some
gray area.
Right. So let's say you just met someone and you're dating for the first time, and that's always a tough one. Somebody starts dating around the holidays, and it's like, what are they going to give me, and how are they going to? I get it. Those are tough, but at the same time, you probably know them well enough to measure the gift of what you wouldn't go over the top if you didn't really know somebody, but maybe they told you they really love the movies and you're like, great, I'll get them this video or CD or DVD or movie tickets. I mean, it's just things that are meaningful without having to be the struggle of I really don't know this person, because if you don't know the person, then why are you giving them a gift? Or can it be a treat? Can it be cookies, candy? We all get plenty of that, of course, in the holidays. And
my favorite part, by the way.
It's a time of abundance for that. And again, I think that's pretty special. If somebody's going to give me handmade anything, I'll take it.
Right. I know. I feel the same way.
Right? That's what it's all about. Well, I'm sitting here talking to my good friend Barbara, who is a financial guru and helps people like me and a lot of other people to make sure they get their finances in order, no matter how much you have. There's always a plan to be made, just like the holidays. There's a plan to be made. And we're talking about ways. We've talked about planning. We've talked about communication, right? Setting levels within the family.
And less is more.
And less is more. You're big on that, aren't you?
I am. I believe it. That's how I live.
Which is important. But when you say less is more, let's talk about. So we talked about planning. We talked about being prepared. We talked about communicating. What about the Christmas savings? There used to be the old Christmas Club account that I tease about, or Christmas fund.
I think that's a great idea.
Is that a good recommendation?
Yeah, when you do your annual budget, I mean, the end of the year is a really good time, let's say after Christmas, to think about the next year. How do we want next year to look? How is 2018 going to treat us? Maybe we know our income. How much of that are we going to save? Some of it in retirement accounts, some maybe for a little vacation account. It wouldn't be a bad idea to have a separate account that's for Christmas. Decide how much you want that to be. Back it in and say we need to save X number of dollars every single month to have a certain amount we want to spend at Christmas, versus getting to Christmas thinking, oh no, we haven't saved enough. We'll just charge it and figure it out on the other end. It doesn't win. It happens every year.
And I love that idea because, as you were mentioning earlier, it's really nice to have a budget or a limit because you work with that. Some people say, no, I just, I want that American Express black card so I can go out and buy everything. But the truth of the matter is, if you have a budget and reality sets in, that's our family budget, then you get creative.
Yeah.
You want to extend that budget for as much as you can, and you're better at shopping, right? You're going to go out there and find those deals, whether it's Black Friday, Cyber
shopping.
Monday.
Yeah.
Right? It's just it's a whole different game.
But I think a madness sets in too about Christmas. Like, is this a good enough gift? And you just really think about the most meaningful gifts you've ever received, and they weren't the biggest gift.
Well, we fall into that trap a lot too, of how many. One gift for sister, and I have two for brother. So now I better get another one for sister. And as you get closer, then pretty soon everybody has 3 or 4 or 5 gifts, and you're trying to equal it all out, right? And then you run out of money, and you're like, oh no, I better charge because nobody knows. Like, I just want to remind you, like, nobody sits there and goes, she got 2, I got 3. I mean, maybe young kids.
They're missing Christmas.
Exactly. It just shouldn't be. I don't know. It just isn't that kind of game. If you can create a Christmas that's really not about solely the gifts, right? I'm not saying eliminate the gifts. Half the fun is really trying to find something that's perfect for somebody. But having that budget, having that plan, communicating, those are important. I love the Christmas Club account or a savings account to lead up to it. Anything else you can think of as far as tips for the Christmas weary about the money and trying to be good?
Just relax and enjoy it. It's a really a special time of year to be with your family and your friends. And don't let the money drive this. It drives the fun out of holidays a lot of times by worrying so much about what I'm going to get someone. The panic about shopping and all that noise.
And maybe this year, instead of worrying about that so much, maybe it's time to give a little bit, if you have some and you're blessed to have that kind of income or finances, to give to a charity.
You bet. A lot of times people will give a donation on behalf of someone
Right.
to a charity they care about, that person cares about, which is a really nice gift. A lot of us have everything we could ever need in our lives, right? One more thing to go in our houses is filling up the box.
Right.
If somebody gives a gift, a small donation, I mean, it can be very
Right.
minimal
It doesn't have to be a
donation,
lot. I mean, that's not what it's about.
but
It's
to a
small.
charity that I care about, it's really meaningful. I think they really thought of what would make me happy, as opposed to going and finding some tchotchke in the store that I don't need, you know?
and that's involvement too. If you're involved, if you don't have money, let's say, hey, you know what? I don't have a lot of cash. I can't donate. Spending time, which is to me our most precious commodity, right? It's time. And if we give that with the family or with friends, and we have a charity in mind, whether it's with work, maybe a lot of work organizations have a charity that they represent and that they work with. To me, I think that's the best. What a great feeling
I agree.
that is.
I think you brought a lot of really great ideas for the holidays in your book.
Thank you.
Make it, calm it down, make it just happier, more meaningful for people, and not just about the mad dash of shopping.
We forget that
Americans
every year.
are funny about Christmas. We've turned it into this
It's a
shopping
big deal.
extravaganza.
It is. I think it's, it's billions of dollars, people,
But
that
we're
we're doing.
advertised every day on TV that this is what your Christmas should look like. And we all know the picture. It's a beautiful tree and a fireplace and a
that's
million presents and probably a puppy, right?
Right. And then the car. Don't forget the car in the
Well, yeah, the
driveway with the
car.
big bow. And yes.
Who doesn't get a new car for Christmas, right?
Right. People mistake. All Americans get that.
Yeah.
There's a Lexus in every driveway. Hey, if you have it and it's in your budget,
Good for you.
more power to you.
Yeah.
That's amazing. But for those of us that don't, I think we remember that the abundance that we're craving is really spending time with each other and doing activities
Right.
that remind us of Christmas. I mean, how many times do people wake up after Christmas and New Year's and say, you know what? I didn't do this. I didn't do that. I meant to do this. There just wasn't enough time. And you get a little resentful. It's like
Yeah.
Christmas becomes a chore.
Yeah.
And if we can remember to lighten that up, all the time that we spend in the malls versus being home making cookies,
Ugh.
it's a lot cheaper. Let me tell you,
Yeah,
right? It's a
yeah.
lot safer to be home and baking cookies with the family than it is to be out shopping.
I totally agree. I
Right?
think this is really the information in your book is really helpful to people to say, stop the madness.
Yeah,
I want to get off.
Right. Well, it's really been my goal to make sure that people have truly a lighter, brighter Christmas. I mean, and it should be whimsical. I mean, that's what Christmas is. It's that magic when you were a kid and the excitement and the sheer joy. The anticipation was sometimes more
Yeah.
than the actual time. And you're right. People talk about their memories. They don't talk about the gift. There might be one or two. Right,
One or two.
right,
Right.
and usually it was the cheapest gift
It's
mom
the
got.
car. No.
Yeah, it is that Lexus with the bow. But even mine, I can't. I mean, how many Christmases did we have as kids when you think about it? There's a lot of them. And I can maybe remember one or two, three. Of course, it's the bike. If you're privileged
Yeah.
enough to get a
Yeah.
bike, it might be, the little train set, or it might be the silly gift. The light bright. I don't know. I'm dating
what
myself
really
here, but
probably-
light brights
right,
were
that was
like,
a big one, right?
that was a biggie.
But I think what really stands out for people on Christmas is like a particular ornament on
Yes.
a tree that really reminds you of like that's your Christmas ornament.
Such a fan of that.
And you think,
right?
what if we got Christmas ornaments for each other, right?
I'm a huge fan of that. One of my things, is if you're going to have a tree trimming party, or one of my good friends, hey Marcy, she has a Christmas tree party every year, and she has people bring an ornament.
Right.
But her caveat is it has to be handmade, which is even more fun because people get so creative and you see what comes out and what hangs on this tree is incredible. But it's a great idea, right? And how cherished that gift can
Forever.
be through the years.
And that stays forever with the family.
Yes.
It's so sweet.
I think, and I love when families go out and they get a souvenir to make sure that they stop at a Christmas store or get something and make it a Christmas ornament that reminds you of the trip and and the travels for the family. It's a big deal.
It's nice.
Well, I really think that is the true spirit of Christmas, and I hope you agree with me. If you don't, you can always write me and say, no, I want more presents. But in that case, you have to talk to Barbara to make sure that you have the financial struts in order to do that, right?
That's right. That's right. Well, I'll talk to each one of you individually.
There you go, Barbara's. But I will put Barbara's information there. You can reach out and talk to her about your financial situation because she is amazing and, puts you on the right track so that you don't have to stress about the holidays or any of the other times for that matter.
Right.
And that's really what it's all about, right? All holidays. When we figure out that we have our budget and we live within those constraints, then we enjoy life a little bit more.
You do. Life is better.
Thanks so much for being on the show and talking
My
to us
pleasure.
about
Absolutely my pleasure. Hon.
the finances of our life, and so that we all don't all turn into Ebenezer Scrooge,
Right.
Right? We give
There
a little.
is a happy medium somewhere.
Right? I love it. Well, thanks for listening to the Dr. Christmas Show. You're listening to Yvonne Lacey, and you can reach me at my email address, which is drchristmas@drchristmas.com, and also check out my website at drchristmas.com. That's DRXMAS. It's the RX because it's the prescription for your holiday.
The Dr. Christmas podcast series is recorded at Resonant Audio and produced by Second Sense Creative.